Something is shifting and you can feel it, can't you? Not in a loud, obvious way, but in the quiet moments. In the stillness when your thoughts get heavy and your spirit feels alert. Like something is approaching, something you can't see yet, but you know it's real. This isn't fear. This isn't anxiety. This is awareness. Because deep down you already sense it, something big is coming. And it's not random. It's not coincidence. It's connected to you. There are moments when the world feels different, like you don't belong in the noise anymore. Conversations feel empty. Distractions don't distract you like they used to. You start noticing patterns, behaviors, energies. And suddenly, the life you once accepted starts to feel like an illusion. That's not confusion. That's awakening. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You weren't designed to follow blindly. There's a reason you question everything. A reason you feel deeper than others. A reason you can't just settle into a normal life without feeling like something is missing. That's because you were never meant to live on the surface. Being chosen doesn't mean life gets easier. In fact, it often becomes heavier. Because now you see what others ignore. You feel what others avoid. And that awareness, it comes with a cost. People misunderstand you. They call you distant, different, even strange. But what they don't realize is you've outgrown the version of reality they're still comfortable living in. There were times you tried to fit in, tried to silence that inner voice, tried to ignore that pull toward something greater. But every time you did, something inside you felt wrong, like you were betraying yourself, like you were shrinking just to be accepted. And that's when life started testing you. Situations became harder. Relationships started falling apart. Doors you once depended on suddenly closed, not because you were failing, but because you were being redirected. Because where you're going, not everyone is meant to follow. You started losing things, but gaining clarity. You started feeling alone, but becoming stronger. You started questioning everything, but finally seeing the truth. That's the process. That's the transformation. That's what happens when someone is being prepared for something bigger. Because something is approaching. And the reason you feel it is because you're connected to it. This isn't about luck. This isn't about chance. This is alignment. Everything you've been through, every struggle, every disappointment, every moment you thought you were breaking, it was shaping you, building you, strengthening something inside you that you didn't even know existed. And now it's waking up. You might not have all the answers yet. You might not see the full picture, but you feel the shift. You feel the change in your energy, the way you think, the way you move, the way you see people. It's different now. You don't chase the same things. You don't tolerate the same energy. You don't ignore your intuition anymore. That's growth, that's elevation, that's preparation. Because when something big is about to happen, you don't get comfortable, you get ready. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. When you start stepping into your purpose, the world doesn't always celebrate you. Sometimes it resists you. Sometimes it tries to pull you back. Because your growth makes others uncomfortable. Your awareness exposes illusions. Your presence disrupts patterns. And not everyone is ready for that. So they question you, doubt you, try to label you, try to bring you back to the version of you they understand. But you can't go back. You've seen too much. You've felt too much. You've awakened too much. And that's exactly why something big is approaching for you. Because you didn't give up when it got hard. You didn't break when life tested you. You didn't lose yourself when everything around you started falling apart. You stayed, you endured, you evolved. And now you're being positioned. Positioned for a breakthrough. Positioned for clarity. Positioned for a level of understanding that most people never reach. But listen carefully. This next phase requires you to stay ready. Not fearful, not anxious, but aware. Protect your energy. Be mindful of who you let close. Pay attention to your intuition. It's sharper now for a reason. Because not everything and everyone is meant to go where you're going. And that's okay. You're not here to carry everyone. You're here to rise. You're here to step into something greater. And the closer you get, the more intense it may feel. The more pressure you might experience. The more alone it might seem. But that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're close. Very close. So don't doubt yourself now. Don't shrink now. Don't go back now. Stand firm in who you are becoming. Trust what you feel. Trust what you sense. Trust the process, even if you don't fully understand it yet. Because something big is approaching. And it's not here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you. So stay ready. Stay aware. Stay aligned. And when it finally arrives, you won't panic. You won't hesitate. You'll recognize it. Because deep down, you've been preparing for this your entire life. If this message found you at the right moment, don't ignore it. Engage with it. Drop a comment sharing what you've been feeling lately, like this video if it resonated with your journey, and subscribe to Return to Awakening for more messages that speak directly to your path. And even now, there's a part of you that feels it's stronger than before. It's subtle but undeniable. A quiet pressure building inside your chest. A sense that time is shifting, that something is aligning behind the scenes. You try to explain it, but words fall short. Because this isn't something you learned, it's something you recognize. There are days when you feel completely disconnected from the world around you, like you're watching everything from a distance. People talk, laugh, argue, but it all feels surface level. And you sit there wondering, why can't I just be like them? But deep down, you already know the answer. You were never meant to be like them. That feeling of being different, it wasn't given to isolate you. It was given to separate you from what no longer aligns with your purpose. And yes, it feels uncomfortable. Yes, it feels lonely at times. But that discomfort is a sign that you're no longer asleep. Because once you awaken, you can't unsee what you've seen. You begin to notice the way people move, the hidden intentions behind their words, the energy they carry when they enter a room. And suddenly you realize not everyone is genuine, not everyone is aligned, and not everyone deserves access to you. That realization changes everything. It changes how you trust. It changes how you connect. It changes how you protect your energy. And for some people, that shift makes you look cold. But in reality, you're not becoming cold. You're becoming aware. And awareness is powerful. Because now, you're no longer easily manipulated. You're no longer easily distracted. You're no longer easily pulled into situations that drain you. Instead, you observe, you feel, you choose. And that level of control, it didn't come easy. It came from being hurt. It came from being misunderstood. It came from being placed in situations that forced you to grow, even when you weren't ready. Every lesson shaped you. Every challenge refined you. Every moment of silence strengthened you. And now, you're stepping into a version of yourself that sees things differently. You don't react the same way anymore. You don't chase validation. You don't seek approval. Because something inside you has shifted from needing the world to understanding it. And that's where your power begins to rise. But here's what most people don't realize. When you start to elevate like this, when your awareness expands, when your energy becomes stronger, you begin to attract attention. Not just positive attention, but all kinds. Some people will be drawn to your light. Others will feel threatened by it. Some will try to get close to understand you. Others will try to get close to control you. And that's why discernment becomes your greatest protection. Because not everyone who approaches you has pure intentions. Some are curious. Some are inspired. And some are calculating. They sense something about you that they can't fully understand. A presence, a depth, a calm strength, and it unsettles them. Because you don't operate like everyone else. You don't follow the crowd. You don't seek attention. You don't need to prove yourself. And in a world that thrives on noise, your silence becomes powerful. But power always attracts pressure. You may have noticed it already. Moments where everything feels heavier. Situations where people test your patience. Unexpected challenges that seem to appear out of nowhere. That's not random. That's resistance. Because as you get closer to stepping into something greater, the pressure increases. Not to break you, but to reveal how strong you've become. And sometimes that pressure comes in the form of doubt. A voice in your mind asking, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm overthinking everything? What if this feeling means nothing? But listen carefully. That voice isn't your truth. That voice is fear trying to keep you in a place that feels safe, but small. Because stepping into your true path, it requires courage. It requires you to trust something you can't fully see yet. It requires you to move forward, even when you don't have all the answers. And that's where most people stop. That's where most people turn back. But you didn't come this far to turn back now. You didn't endure everything you've been through, just to doubt yourself at the edge of something greater. You're here for a reason. And that reason is getting closer. Closer than you think. You might not know what it looks like yet. You might not know how it will unfold. But you feel it. And that feeling, it's guiding you. So pay attention to the small changes. The subtle shifts in your mindset. The way certain things no longer interest you. The way your tolerance for negativity has decreased. The way you crave peace more than chaos. Those are not random changes. Those are signs. Signs that you're aligning with something higher. Signs that you're being prepared. Signs that something is moving into place. And when it finally arrives, it won't feel foreign. It will feel familiar. Like something you've been waiting for, without even realizing it. But until that moment comes, stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay disciplined with your energy. Because this phase, this quiet, intense, transformative phase, it's crucial. This is where you are being shaped in ways you can't fully see yet. This is where your mindset is being refined. This is where your strength is being tested. And this is where your patience is being built. Because what's coming will require all of it, and the truth is, not everyone will understand this version of you that's emerging. The more you evolve, the more unfamiliar you become to people who only knew the old you. They'll notice the silence, the distance, the way you no longer react the same way. And instead of asking what changed, they'll assume something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. You're just no longer available for what once drained you. You're no longer entertaining conversations that lead nowhere. You're no longer investing energy into people who never truly saw you. And that shift, it can feel like loss. But it's not loss. It's alignment. Because every time you outgrow a space, it creates room for something greater to enter. Even if that something greater hasn't fully arrived yet. That's the uncomfortable middle. The space between who you were and who you're becoming. And this space, it tests you in ways nothing else can. It tests your patience. It tests your discipline. It tests your ability to stay focused when there's no immediate reward. Because right now, you're being asked to trust the process without seeing the full picture. And that's not easy. There will be moments when you question everything. Moments when you feel like you've been waiting too long. Moments when it seems like nothing is happening at all. But beneath the surface, everything is happening. Things are shifting in ways you can't yet see. Connections are forming. Paths are aligning. Opportunities are quietly moving closer to you. And at the same time, certain things are being removed. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because what's coming next requires space. It requires clarity. It requires a version of you that is not tied to old patterns, old attachments, or old limitations. And that's why this phase feels so intense. You're being stretched beyond your comfort zone. You're being pulled away from what's familiar. You're being guided into something unknown. And the unknown, it can feel unsettling. But it's also where transformation lives. Because if everything felt comfortable, there would be no growth. If everything stayed the same, there would be no evolution. And you were not meant to stay the same. You were meant to rise. But rising comes with a cost. It requires letting go. Letting go of who you thought you had to be. Letting go of expectations that were never truly yours. Letting go of people who only supported the version of you that stayed small. And sometimes, letting go doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it happens slowly. Through distance. Through silence. Through realization. Until one day you look around and everything feels different. And that's when it hits you. You've changed. Not in a way that makes you unrecognizable, but in a way that makes you undeniable. Your presence feels stronger. Your energy feels calmer. Your mind feels clearer. And your spirit feels more grounded than ever before. That's not accidental. That's the result of everything you've been through. Every setback. Every disappointment. Every moment you felt like giving up but didn't. It all built this version of you. A version that doesn't break under pressure. A version that doesn't fold when things get uncertain. A version that stands firm, even when the path ahead isn't fully clear. And that's exactly why something big is approaching. Because you're no longer the same person who started this journey. You've grown into someone who can handle what's coming. But even with that growth, there's still one thing that will be tested more than anything else. Your focus. Because as you get closer, distractions will increase. Old habits may try to resurface. People from your past may reappear. Situations that once held power over you may try to pull you back in. Not because you're meant to go backwards, but because you're being tested. Tested to see if you've truly learned. Tested to see if you've truly grown. Tested to see if you're ready to choose your future over your past. And those tests, they won't always be obvious. They'll come disguised as opportunities, as familiar feelings, as moments that seem harmless but carry old energy. And in those moments, your awareness is everything. Because now you can see what you couldn't see before. Now you can feel what you couldn't feel before. Now you can choose differently. And every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose peace over chaos, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you move closer, closer to that moment, closer to that shift, closer to that breakthrough that has been building behind the scenes this entire time. And when it finally unfolds, it won't be luck. It won't be random. It will be the result of every decision you made when no one was watching. Every moment you stayed strong when it would have been easier to give in. Every time you trusted yourself, even when it felt uncertain. That's what's bringing you there. That's what's aligning everything. And that's why you can't afford to lose focus now. Not when you've come this far. Not when you've grown this much. Not when everything is starting to come together, even if you can't fully see it yet. So stay sharp. Stay grounded. Stay intentional. Because this next phase, it's closer than it's ever been before. And as you stand on the edge of this next phase, something inside you is becoming more still. Not empty, not lost, but focused. Like the noise that once surrounded you is slowly fading and all that's left is clarity, a deeper awareness, a quiet knowing that doesn't need validation. You're not reacting the same anymore. Things that once triggered you no longer have that power. Situations that once confused you now make sense. People who once had access to you now feel distant. And it's not because you've disconnected from life. It's because you've connected to yourself. That connection, it changes everything. Because once you truly understand your energy, you stop allowing just anyone to influence it. You become intentional. You become selective. You begin to realize that your time, your focus, your presence, they are valuable. And not everyone deserves access to that. That realization alone, it separates you. It elevates you. It protects you. Because now you're no longer moving unconsciously. You're no longer giving without awareness. You're no longer pouring into places that leave you empty. Instead, you pause. You observe. You choose. And that level of control, it's powerful in a world where most people are constantly reacting. But with that power comes responsibility. Because now every decision matters more. Every action carries weight. Every choice either aligns you or distracts you. And this is where many people lose their momentum. Not because they aren't capable, but because they underestimate the importance of consistency. They think one step forward is enough. They think one moment of clarity is enough. But growth, real growth, requires discipline. It requires showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It requires staying focused, even when distractions look appealing. It requires trusting the process, even when results aren't immediate. And right now, that's what's being asked of you. Consistency. Not perfection. Not constant motivation. But consistency. Because something big doesn't arrive for the version of you that is unsure, distracted, and unprepared. It arrives for the version of you that is steady, grounded, ready, and you are becoming that version step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice, even on the days when it feels like nothing is changing, even on the days when progress feels slow, even on the days when doubt tries to creep in. Because the truth is, progress isn't always visible. Sometimes it's happening internally, in your mindset, in your awareness, in the way you respond to situations. And those internal shifts, they are the foundation for everything that's coming. Without them, the external changes wouldn't last. So this phase, this quiet internal transformation, it's necessary. It's building something within you that cannot be shaken. Something that doesn't depend on circumstances. Something that doesn't collapse under pressure. And once that foundation is solid, everything else begins to align. But until then, patience is required. And patience is one of the hardest things to master. Because we live in a world that pushes urgency. A world that tells you everything should happen quickly. A world that makes you feel like you're behind if things aren't moving fast enough. But your journey, it was never meant to be rushed. It was meant to be built. Layer by layer. Lesson by lesson. Experience by experience. Because what's coming into your life, it's not temporary. It's not surface level. It's not something that fades as quickly as it arrives. It's something that requires depth, stability, understanding, and that can only come through time, through growth, through transformation. So if things feel slow right now, trust that there's a reason. If things feel quiet right now, trust that something is being prepared. If things feel uncertain right now, trust that clarity is on its way. Because everything you're experiencing, it's leading somewhere. Somewhere meaningful. somewhere aligned, somewhere that matches the version of you that you're becoming. And that version of you is not the same person who once doubted everything. That version of you is not the same person who once settled for less. That version of you is stronger, wiser, more aware, more intentional, and most importantly, more ready than ever before. Ready for what's next, ready for what's coming, ready for something that once felt out of reach, but is now moving closer with every step you take. So don't rush this moment. Don't try to force what isn't ready yet. Don't let impatience pull you out of alignment. Because right now, you're exactly where you need to be. In the process, in the preparation, in the becoming. And that is where everything begins to change. And in this phase, you may notice something else happening. Your tolerance for anything fake starts disappearing completely. Conversations that once felt normal now feel forced. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel heavy. It's like your entire system is rejecting anything that isn't real. That's not you becoming difficult. That's you becoming aligned. Because when your awareness reaches a certain level, you can't pretend anymore. You can't laugh at things that don't resonate. You can't agree just to keep peace. You can't shrink just to fit into spaces that no longer match your energy. And yes, that will set you apart. But it will also set you free. Because now, you're no longer living for acceptance. You're no longer performing for approval. You're no longer adjusting your truth just to be understood. Instead, you stand in it. Quietly, confidently, without the need to explain yourself to everyone. And that kind of presence, it's rare. It's not loud. It's not attention-seeking. But it's undeniable. People feel it even when you say nothing. They notice the way you carry yourself. The way you observe more than you speak. The way you don't rush to fill silence. And that silence, it holds power. Because in that silence, you're thinking. You're processing. You're seeing things that others miss. And that awareness gives you an advantage, not over others, but over your old self. Because now, you're not reacting from emotion alone. You're responding with understanding. You're moving with intention. You're choosing your actions instead of being controlled by them. And that shift, it changes your entire trajectory. But here, where it gets even deeper. As you continue to evolve, your intuition becomes sharper than ever before. You start picking up on things instantly. A slight change in someone's tone. A subtle shift in energy. A feeling that something isn't right, even if everything looks fine on the surface. And that intuition, it's not random. It's not overthinking. It's guidance. But only if you trust it. Because many times, the signs won't come with clear explanations. They'll come as feelings, as instincts, as quiet nudges that don't make logical sense in the moment. And if you ignore them, you'll feel it later. That realization of, I knew something was off. But now you're learning to listen. You're learning to trust that inner voice without needing external confirmation. And that trust, it protects you. It guides you. It keeps you aligned, even when the path ahead isn't fully visible. Because when something big is approaching, clarity doesn't always come all at once. Sometimes it comes step by step, moment by moment, decision by decision. And your intuition, it's what leads you through it. But along with that clarity comes another realization. You're not meant to explain your journey to everyone. Not everyone will understand why you've changed. Not everyone will see the growth. Not everyone will support the direction you're moving in. And that's okay. Because this journey, it was never meant to be validated by the crowd. It was meant to be walked with conviction. with inner certainty, with a level of belief that doesn't depend on others agreeing with you. And that kind of belief, it's built in solitude, in those quiet moments where it's just you and your thoughts, where there's no noise, no opinions, no distractions, just clarity, just truth, just you. And in those moments, you begin to understand something powerful. You were never lost. You were being guided. Every delay had a purpose. Every redirection had meaning. Every moment of confusion was leading you to a deeper level of understanding. And now things are starting to make sense. Not all at once, but enough for you to keep moving forward with confidence. Enough for you to trust that you're not wandering, you're progressing. And that progress, it's leading you towards something significant. Something that matches the energy you've been building. Because you don't go through this level of transformation for nothing. You don't endure this level of growth without purpose. You don't develop this level of awareness just to remain where you are. No, it's all leading somewhere. Somewhere that requires this version of you. The disciplined you. The aware you. The focused you. The version of you that doesn't break under pressure, but rises through it. And as you step closer to that moment, one thing becomes clear. You are no longer preparing for something small. You are preparing for something that will require all of you. Your strength, your patience, your awareness, your discipline, everything you've been building will be needed. And that's why this process has been so intense. Because it had to be. Because ordinary preparation wouldn't be enough. Because what's coming isn't ordinary. And neither are you.